Siachen, the world's highest battlefield. Treacherous, uncertain, unforgiving. It is an active war zone where temperatures dip to minus 40 degrees. A place where the real enemy is the weather. This is where, for the last 60 years, one helicopter unit has been doing which no other air force in the world has been able to do. Fly and land at the highest airfields in the world, situated over 20,000 feet above sea levels. They do it every day in the service of the nation, pushing the endurance limits of both their men and machines. As the Siachen Pioneers celebrate 60 years of their raising, we speak to two pilots of the 114 helicopter unit on what it takes to achieve the impossible every day. Welcoming Group Captain Rudra Chattopadhyay, the commanding officer of Siachen Pioneers, to our studios. Also with him is unit pilot, squadron leader Ankita Singh joining us. Thank you both for being here. You've made the trek from 20,000 feet all the way to Delhi. Ankita, how's the weather treating you here?
The weather is good, ma'am. It is
not hot, too hot for you?
Too hot for us, yes, considering we were still operating in the minus degrees of the temperature there. And yeah, quite a change here, and of course, too much of oxygen to begin with.
Too much of oxygen to begin with, and too much of pollution to begin with as well?
Yeah, you can clearly make out the difference between being at 10,000 feet and at sea level here. So yeah.
Let's talk a bit about what you do at these heights. You're operating at heights of 20,000 feet, 18,000 feet plus. How's that humanly possible? Many people will say, will see these pictures and think to themselves, how's this even being done? And I think yours is the only unit that is doing it on a regular basis, right? Not just flying there, but landing there as well.
Yes, ma'am. That's it. That's correct. The Siachen Pioneers have this to their credit, that they are the only unit of the Indian Air Force which is routinely carrying out operations in excess of altitudes in excess of 18,000 feet. That's 18,000 feet and above. And we carry out something called air maintenance, air logistics operations, casualty evacuation, search and rescue missions at these altitudes. And these altitudes involve a lot of challenges. You have the air which is extremely rarefied, temperatures which are very low as minus 40, minus 45 in the winters. You have extremely strong winds, turbulent conditions, and most importantly, you have the human body being pushed to the limits of its endurance when it has to operate against these adversities of weather under those conditions routinely. So that is, I would say in a nutshell, what it takes to operate at those altitudes routinely.
So the temperature inside the cockpit is exactly the temperature outside as well, which means going as low as minus 45 degrees.
So ma'am, ours is an unpressurized cockpit, which means that there is no air conditioning system, there is no climate control system inside the aircraft. So yes, within a range of plus minus maybe 5 degrees difference, the temperature inside and the temperature outside is almost the same. So when it's about minus 40, I'd say the best we'd get inside is minus 35. And that is, like I said, one element of the human endurance, which can only be, I think, credited to the willpower of the people flying there, the pilots flying there, that it takes to operate in the Siachen Glacier.
Your unit, Siachen Pioneers, has been operating in the Siachen Glacier for the last 60 years, right? And that's a bit of a record as well, if I'm not mistaken. Talk to us a bit about Cheetal, the helicopter. It's a made in India helicopter?
So yes, the unit is 60 years old, and since 1984, that's for the last 40 years, we've been operating in Op Meghdut. Op Meghdut is the world's longest running air logistics mission operation, underway since 1984 till date. And over a period of time, starting with the Chetaks, which are French Alouette helicopters, and evolved to the Cheetah helicopter, which again a French Lama. It is now license made in India. We have evolved to the Cheetal helicopter, which is the airframe of the Cheetah, and it is manufactured entirely indigenously by HL, and it has been re-engined with the engine of the ALH. So that engine is much more reliable, digitally controlled, and it makes the machine a much more safer machine to operate, considering we are operating on a single engine over some of the world's most treacherous terrains. And to today the entire unit is operating, it's the only unit of the Indian Air Force operating the Cheetal helicopter at those altitudes.
Squadron Leader Ankita, your unit is not just flying there. You know, flying is one thing. Landing is a completely different ball game at these heights. You are only the second woman in the entire world to land at the highest airfield in the world, which is the Amar airfield. What is its height and what does it take to land there? How is landing there different from landing anywhere else?
One of the most beautiful thing about flying a machine is that it does not differentiate between a man or a woman. It just identifies the aviator who's flying that particular aircraft. And the helipads that we land at regularly at the glacier being one of the most challenging helipads that we land at due to the small size of the helipads and the unconventional ways of making an approach there. So every time we are carrying out a landed operation, it has to be that precise, it has to be that well thought over and executed in a manner that we continue to fly that machine and the crew continues to fly that machine at those altitudes. Amar being a different ball game altogether, there's a famous saying which says that Amar will always be Amar. And at those altitudes where you're almost at the fringes of the flight envelope of this aircraft, it is a combination of the skill level that you bring to the cockpit and also the sheer willpower of carrying out landing at that altitude. So you're overcoming a lot of barriers of fear, a lot of barriers of the limitations of the human endurance as well as that of the aircraft.
So you're pushing the envelope both for yourself and for the helicopter as well. What's been the most challenging or difficult landing for you? What were the circumstances where you said, oh my God, you know, I don't know what to do next?
Ma'am, the beauty of this, again, the entire AOR that we fly in under the Ops Sadbhavna, we carry out a lot of landed operations where we're carrying out evacuations of casualty from areas which are generally cut off from the mainstream, especially during the winters. So there are a lot of moments where we carry out landings wherein we're just looking for a place to land. And you know that you always have something running on your mind wherein there is a life that needs to be saved. If I could give you an example, there's just in the recent past we carried out a casualty evacuation as the formation leader from a place called Sarchu in the Pang axis, wherein there was just a portion of the garden of somebody's house which was cleared for the landing of the helicopter. And we picked up the casualty from there, and on our way out, we landed at the most famous Moreh Plains, which is a famous tourist destination. And that was the only viable place for us to land, get the aircraft ready again, turn around, and recover back at Leh.
Are you sending up a prayer every time you take off, saying, "Aaj sab theek ho"?
All the time. I think it is that goes along all the time, and it is that is the brotherhood in aviation, that I think it's not just you, it is everybody else who's ever involved with you sends out a prayer that yes, this aircraft should go and come back safe.
So which means everything has to be perfect. You at that moment when you're taking off and landing, you have to be perfect, and your helicopter has to be in perfect shape as well. And that comes from your technical crew.
Yeah, that absolutely comes from our technical crew. I think whenever we do a mission, we come back and we walk away with a smile on our faces. I think we owe it completely to the maintainers, our engineering officers, the group of technicians who gotten that aircraft ready. So to maximum exploit in the optimal manner, the low temperatures, the lower payload capacity at those altitudes, we have to do sunrise takeoffs, which can be as early as 5:15, 5:30 in the morning in summers. And for that, our technicians practically start preparing the aircraft at 2 a.m. in the night. Often there are missions which involve multiple formations, almost 6 aircraft launched together, and it's a very regular thing for the Siachen Pioneers to do. And they come every day with the same dedication, with the same smile on their face, no matter what the weather. They are braving the same temperatures as us.
They're working bare hands.
They're working with bare hands on metal parts in the aircraft, and that is why we have a very famous saying in our unit that says, "In God we trust, but our technicians come a close second."
What she said, it seems, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a large part of your job brief is also rescue operations, helping civilians, because in those areas that you operate in Leh, etc., especially during the winter, when civilians are cut off from everything, they have no one but you to depend on, especially during emergencies.
Yes, that's right.
Could you tell us a bit about the operations that you have carried out under Operation Sadbhavna, which has been the most challenging perhaps?
So I think I'll just take on a little bit of that question and let her answer the rest of it, because she's a formation leader who's recently conducted a lot of casualty evacuations. So the unit has to its credit more than 7,200 lives saved. We have also been felicitated with something called the Rotary Wing Society of India, which is the apex body for all civil helicopter aviation. The Best in Humanitarian Service Award thrice in 2012, 2018 and 2022 recently. And that itself shows how much of a beacon of hope we are for the people of Ladakh when the winters set in, when everything is cut off and you just fall back on the Siachen Pioneers when something goes wrong.
You know, Siachen is of course an active war zone, but the real enemy there is the weather, right? The real enemy there is avalanches, which kill soldiers on both sides almost every year. What is it adjusting to the weather there, to the temperatures there? How does the human body do it?
I think it is all based on the sheer willpower of being in a place like that. As I think for anybody who's serving in those that altitude in that area is motivated by their will to do work and their will to serve in that area, and that is the biggest strength that anybody carries with them, especially when they're in a place like that. And after a point of time, you do realize there is a job that has to be done, and it has to be done anyhow. So that is what motivates people to get up in the morning, do the things that have to be done, and work together as a team in very, very holistic way to make any mission a success, be it getting the aircraft ready, be it flying the aircraft, or it's sustaining the operations at those altitudes. Everybody is working in a very beautiful sync to make all of this happen safely.
That's very important. It's a badge of honor, almost a badge of honor to be operating at these heights, right? And to be operating at Siachen. Do you get a lot of volunteers ki humko bhi le lo, we want to go as well?
Yes, ma'am, it's considered one of the most prestigious postings, and it's considered the mecca of helicopter flying in the Indian Air Force, if not the world. And we have a lot of people wanting to come here and getting selected based on their capability. And everybody who comes here is absolutely high on motivation and the will to do it. In fact, everybody who comes here lives up to the credo of our unit motto is we do the difficult as a routine and the impossible may take a bit longer.
Group Captain Chattopadhyay, I believe your unit in its 60-year history has many records to its credit. Could you talk to our viewers about that?
Okay, ma'am. So our unit is one of the most highly decorated units of the Indian Air Force. We have, to our credit, more than 70 plus presidential awards, of which more than 48 are gallantry awards. That, I would say, is one of the highest in the entire Indian Air Force. And the unit also has, to its distinction, having carried out the first landings in the Siachen Glacier way back in 1978, being the first unit into operations when we had to hold the Siachen Glacier on the 13th of April, 1984, by way of the commencement of Op Meghdut. The unit also has two records, one in the Guinness Book of World Records for landing at the highest routinely used helipad, that is Sonam helipad, which is now no longer in use. However, Sonam helipad was at 20,600 feet plus, and it also has the record for the highest landing in the entire Ladakh region at 25,500 feet plus. This record is there in the Limca Book of World Records.
Wow, that's quite something. You've spoken to us about civilian evacuations, but operationally, as far as the military is concerned, what is it that helicopters do? What is it that your unit does at these heights? We understand that there are army troops that are posted all along the glacier. How are you working in tandem with them? How does it work? What does your work day look like?
So the work days, especially when we talk about Operation Meghdut in the Siachen Glacier, are very early days. So we start very early so that we are able to take off by sunrise, and we are usually carrying out air logistics to supply food, medicines, ammunition, and most importantly carry out evacuation as and when it is required. So there are a lot of posts which are purely maintained by landed operations. In the northern glacier, of course, there are drops being carried out, but more than 70% of the glacier is sustained by landed operations, in which we take on. That means we're the ones who are carrying out landings at those altitudes, regular landings. We're carrying out shuttles so that the important items reach those posts, especially being the K-oil, which is also called the liquid gold of the Siachen glacier. And all of this is taken inside the cabin of the aircraft and taken to these posts. Additionally, if there are items which are not which are bulky in nature and which cannot be carried inside the cabin of the aircraft, we carry them underslung. We recently carried out certain operations, as you can see in the visuals behind us, where we carried out a drop of a snow scooter at about 18,500 feet, also carrying out a telemetric disc, which is a very unusual underslung load to be carried, again at an altitude of 18,600 feet, and all of them being carried in a very, very precise and a very challenging mission that we carry out on the.
So the ground troops would be very happy to see you every time they see your helicopter hover and land. They'd be very happy to see you because you're getting them something that they probably require. So K-oil is one which is essential to sustain the troops. What else? What else do you carry that makes the troops the happiest?
Of course, apart from the regular supply
Fresh
of fruits,
vegetables?
yes.
Yes, I was about to say that.
Fresh rations.
Yes, so there's whenever we have the opportunity to carry fresh rations to these posts, and we do have a lot of times when the troops de-induct and they meet us at the base camp, and the hope and the gratefulness that they meet us is something that I don't think we can earn anywhere else, wherein they are absolutely thrilled when the aircraft lands, and they would, the moment the door opens, and they would just know that yes, there's something special which has come in today.
It is the complete satisfaction of a job well done at the end of the day, ma'am.
I'm going to thank both of you here. Thank you very much. Congratulations. And great of you to have come to our studios. Good to have you. Thank you.